Welcome to the Life Podcast with BFR, a space where we celebrate life, support families, and inspire our community to thrive. In today's episode, we sit down with Kim Lewis, Executive Director for Bartow Family Resources.
Well, hey, y'all. Good morning. We're so glad that you are with us today, and welcome back to the Life Podcast with BFR. As promised, we are really excited to get to sit down this morning with our Executive Director, Kim Lewis.
Woo! I'm excited to be with you girls.
So, Kim, tell us a little bit about your role at BFR. Give us your credentials.
That's a scary question, Tess. Suffice it to say that I feel unqualified every day that I step into that amazing place and get to lead our team. But what a privilege. What a privilege. I've been involved in the work of BFR since 1998. I'm not sure if you were even born, Tess.
I was.
Sarah was not. Maybe
I was.
She was.
I was just itty bitty.
You were a little bitty. So, served from 98 to 08 on the board of the then Crisis Pregnancy Center, which became the Women's Resource Center, and got to just see God do amazing things back in the day, and much smaller, much more focused on the crisis of the moment and all the things. And then was very blessed to be invited to be on the staff in 2013, came on board and have fulfilled a couple of different roles. One was leading our parenting program for about 5 years, which is just so my heart to help these struggling moms and dads, step into that role. And then in 2018, rolled into the executive director position, and that's been a real beautiful journey. Could not do it without the amazing team that we have and incredible support. So it's just been a real privilege and a journey for me, personal growth and development and all the things. So
every role stretches us, right?
Yes, it does. Organizational leadership is just a thing in itself. And so certainly am so appreciative of the opportunity and continuing to seek ways that I can grow and lead with excellence. And so it's just a real privilege to sit in this space.
That's amazing to have watched BFR experience so many transitions while you have been involved in it. That's just quite a unique perspective that probably gives you, and just experience overall.
Yes, it really does. I think that whatever roles that we are filling in life and ministry and work, there are people that went before us that paved the way, that did things that are astounding. And I think it serves us well in whatever role we're in to remember that and to remember those precious ones that paid a price for whatever, and I say this in air quotes, measure of success our organization, our ministry, our business is having. Someone invested either in us or in that organization. And so I think, we try to do that at BFR and have those times of remembrance where we really look back, and because it just speaks volumes of the faithfulness of God and what he's been doing. And, I say this all the time, Sarah and Tess, it's not always just what he's done today. It's the way he sustains the work. We don't have a product to sell. We don't have a congregation to tithe. We trust him for everything that happens to sustain the work of the ministry, and it just happens over and over and over, and it's amazing to watch.
It is amazing.
Be part of. Yeah,
so good.
Love that.
So Kim, you also have 3 boys.
I do.
One who recently got married.
Yes.
I guess it's been 2 years now already.
About a year and a half.
Okay.
So time flies, but still a newlywed.
Yeah, and your youngest just graduated college.
That's right.
You've got everybody, on their paths and out.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you and Jeff will have some, travels and stuff to do now, right?
Well, it is a new season, which is really fun and weird all at the same time. You spend with the way that our boys are spaced. It took about 17 years to get all three of them through school, and then another 13 years to get all three of them through college. So when you think about educating your kids for 30 years, it's like, whoa, that is a milestone. And, this is crazy. So we were excited to celebrate next month 34 years of marriage.
That's amazing.
That is incredible.
It really is amazing. Again, just, the joys of the journey, the struggles, the trials, you look back and you think, oh my goodness. I mean, wow. Thank you, God, for bringing us through, that or this, or, the days that you think, they're so long. We've got 3 littles and, oh my gosh, we're so over our heads. And how are we ever going to, be faithful on this journey? And then again, it just speaks volumes of God's faithfulness when you look back. And so it's been kind of emotional for me. And, I'm not a super emotional person. I mean, certainly deep feelings and thoughts around the things that matter in this life, but it's been a new just kind of season to walk into where you're like, wow, we don't have a child in school anywhere. And that's a weird sort of feeling after so many years. But it's also a beautiful and exciting time. So for those who may be going into that season of, empty nesting or, launching your children, there's a sweet space in that and a satisfaction that comes of just knowing, wow, Lord, thank you for helping us face every obstacle, get through it. They, from the best we can tell, are doing great. And that makes Mama's heart really happy. So everybody's in a good space. So we're grateful.
That's awesome.
Well, I know that's really encouraging probably to some individuals listening today. So thanks for sharing
keep
that.
Persevering, Mama,
right.
Daddy, keep persevering.
Well, Kim, we are venturing into something new
Yes.
territory with this podcast. And, last episode, our very first full episode, we kind of shared what our heartbeat is for the podcast, what our kind of our goals are and vision is. And we really landed on our organizational vision statement, and which is, community where every life is sacred, families are valued, educated, and supported. And so just wanted to kind of share that again and to bring you into that conversation. When I, wanted to have you on, really kept coming back to something that you said, gosh, it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago since you first said this, but it has stuck with me ever since. And that it's every life is created on purpose, for a purpose, by a purposeful and loving God.
Yes.
I mean, that'll preach right there.
Yes, it will.
But I would just love for you to, as we're kind of exploring that topic of that every life has purpose, kind of expound on that a little bit more, and that is so foundational for who we are as an organization, because that's the core of what we do, that we believe life is sacred and life is should be able to be, and so just kind of talk a little bit more about that and kind of share, why is that so important? Why is that foundation important?
Yeah, sure, Sarah. Thanks for the question. Well, if you tell a generation they came from pond scum and they mean nothing and they're going nowhere and their life is pointless, you reap what you sow into that culture, into that generation. And I believe there's never been a more critical time in that message. God created us with purpose, for purpose. He's purposeful and loving. And that one truth, just think about that one truth as a child, as a young adult, as an emerging teen, that changes everything about who you think you are and the value that the intrinsic value that you believe you have. And so if I believe that I came from nothing and I'm going nowhere and I have no purpose, then what difference do my actions make? What difference do my thoughts have? What difference is my impact on this world? Then nothing matters and it's irrelevant. And so you just see the drift into, all the things we've seen, depression, anxiety, suicide, ideology. I mean, all the things, the death culture. It's the perfect pot to brew in. And wow, what a message that we offer here through BFR, Bartow Family Resources, that every life matters, that you do have purpose. No, push against that. God has created you to do something amazing. He's given you gifts and talents that nobody else have to make impact in a way that nobody else can. And so to me, it's just completely mission critical that we do everything we can to underscore those truths, not only in our generation, but the generations following us. And it really sets the precedent for everything we do in life and how we think, how we treat others, and how we conduct ourselves, and the impact that we make, be it good or bad, on the culture and the communities that we live in.
That's so good. So good. And just what a perspective shift of, man, the world doesn't have to tell me my value.
Right.
Like God tells me my value.
That's right.
I don't know if I heard that as a younger kid, what that would have meant to me. And not that I didn't hear that, but it wasn't like as blatant, what I mean?
It's intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you bring up, your early years, because most of the clients that we see, a lot of them have never been told these truths. And so how special it is that they are able to come into our space and have this truth spoken to them, because as Kim said, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you just, how can you dream about life if you're in a void where nothing matters and it's all random and there's no order to life or the universe or God, or is he even out there? I mean, just the floating and the pointlessness of it all versus the ability to speak with clarity and certainty and say, no, God has a purpose for me. I was created on purpose for a purpose. And then the beauty of discovering that throughout the rest of your life. We know as believers that we do that within the context of relationship with Jesus Christ, through God the Father. But even if you don't know that yet, that cultural shift from, really just secular humanism to a Christian worldview, even if you don't know what that is, gives you so much hope. I mean, I think that word, my goodness, we can't underscore that word enough. One mindset is hopeless. The other is full of hope and, in fact, fueled by hope. So we just can't speak hope enough into these babies that are being born and these young teens that are coming up, looking at how can they make an impact on this world, and does their life matter? Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's so good. And I think about that, when we didn't start as Bartow Family Resources, we started at, what was the original name,
The
Kim?
Crisis Pregnancy Center.
That was the heartbeat from the get-go.
That's
and that's
right.
still our heartbeat. I don't know if you want to speak into any more about that, but
we're definitely going to step in that space, and our team does it, and y'all know because you're in the building all day with me, with the team. Not every man and woman that walk in the door are in a crisis, but certainly multiple times throughout the day, our team is responding. We're really first responders in so many ways. Trauma care, and, you're just trying to stop the bleeding and that emotional bleeding of, maybe it's the pregnancy that's, fueling that, but many times, as we know, it's not. It's so many other things going on. And so we're trying to come around them with love and support and connect them to the resources that go above and beyond what we can even offer. But certainly that element of it is so mission critical. It's been said that a crisis lasts for 30 days. So, in developing our team and all the different times that we get together and pray together or train around the idea of, trauma care or stepping into difficult spaces, we use the phrase, just breathe or pause. A lot of times people are like, well, what's the key to what y'all do at BFR? And, how do you do it? And how do you serve, all the thousands of times a year? And, all these hard things, really, for me, I just take it back so oftentimes to that pause. If we can help that mom that's in a panic, that dad that doesn't see any way out of the situation, to just pause and breathe and realize we're going to come around you with the resources that we can, certainly as it relates to the pregnancy or the little one that's already in your arms that you don't know how you're going to care for because you've just lost your job or you've been kicked out or your landlord has said, you're too far behind on your rent. And so just helping them find the space to breathe and to feel supported. Because as we know, so many families don't have that support, don't feel that support. And it's certainly a tremendous part of what we do at BFR is provide that emotional support as well as the spiritual, the physical, the mental, as we have the space to do that. So, I think remembering that crisis is always part of what we do, but it's not all that we do.
Yeah. Setting up our families for success.
Right. Yes. I love that.
So good. Yeah. So something else we want to do in this podcast is to really be a source of hope and encouragement to our community, but also giving like actionable steps for people in our community. Like maybe somebody's out there who's listening and is like, yeah, I believe that truth that life, every life has purpose, that life is sacred, but what do I do? Like, how do I help, or how do I, how do I help bring that truth out into the spaces that I'm in? So Kim, what will you say to somebody who might be asking those questions?
Well, that's a great question. Everybody has a circle of influence, be it big, be it small, be it at work, at church, in your neighborhood, your family, social media. Everybody has a sphere of influence. So I think that as adults or emerging adults, it's imperative that we begin to think about how do I add value to the spaces that I'm currently in. Sometimes we think, oh, well, I don't have a platform. Well, I don't have a podcast. Well, I don't have this or that. We have to start where we are. And then those concentric circles move out as we're having impact in, our own lives and inner circles, if you will. So, it can be just being more intentional about conversations, if you are a parent, with your children, and underscoring some of the things we've already talked about this morning, helping them understand that life has purpose, that they were created with purpose, saying, I'm committed to helping you find your purpose. And let's talk about, what you love and what makes you feel alive and what are your gifts and, what do you see as your strengths, just those simple conversations with your kids or, with a spouse or a friend or, and then moving out from there, in your workplace and those environments that we find ourselves in regularly or routinely, so many times we see in scripture, kind of the question, I'm paraphrasing, but what's in your hand? Is it a staff? Is it a rod? Is it a loaf? Is it a fish? Is it bread? Is it a basket? Is it oil? What, what's already in your hand just in the dailiness of life? And then what are we doing with that? Everybody, again, is sometimes looking for something that's just bigger and better and beyond. Well, God says, no, you start with what I've already given you. Yeah. So looking for those spaces and then, how can you, obviously one thing that we love to do at BFR is, go out and share, whether it's with a civic group or a Sunday school or a women's group or a men's group or a place of employment where they're doing some kind of, hey, just so you know, these nonprofits are, busy behind the scenes in Bartow County. Here's what you can know about what they do. And so, we're always game to come and speak to small groups or, using your influence to, help us come and share in whatever, again, sphere of influence that you have. Yeah. So there are lots of things in lots of ways. I think being more intentional to tune in to whether it's podcasts like this one or others that give life-affirming messages and help you challenge your own thinking in ways that you may not realize you haven't fully embraced that message for yourself. Yeah. That God has created you with purpose for a purpose. So
That's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kim, so much for being here today. And is there anything else that you would like to share around these topics?
goodness, well, Sarah, giving me a mic in 10 minutes is just a dangerous thing, but
You can have all the time you want, Kim.
I would just.
You are our boss.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure no one is going to grow tired of hearing you speak with us today.
No, I would disagree with that, but just to say, what a privilege it is for us as an organization to be planted. We're all planted within communities and community, and that we just don't take that for granted. We, certainly want to just shout out to those that partner with us, whether it's, $5 a month or $5,000 a year, or through prayer or through whatever. Just
volunteers.
Yes, volunteers. My gosh, giving their time. I mean, really, in this day and age, time is about the most valuable thing you can give to anybody in any organization. So we don't take that for granted. We have a beautiful staff of 18, and it takes about 100 volunteers a year, to make all the gears move. And I don't sit here as any, solo expert on any of these things, just as an honored member of the team, and just seeing how everybody's role is so interlocked with the others, and how God continues to just move us as one is incredible into affecting change in our community and to bringing hope. We laugh about that phrase, but it's so true. We call ourselves hope dealers. And I just am so grateful, because no one of us could do that. It takes all of us together. And so just really, I guess, sharing that thought with those that would be listening, how can you be a hope dealer in your area of influence, in particular around the value and importance of life, because it has to start there. If we don't value and fight and defend life, then we're on a very slippery slope of being in a place that we don't have the authority to operate in. We don't have the authority to speak to some of these things. And, it's just crazy how quickly, we can just take this arrogant shift to, well, I think, that's a dangerous sentence right there. We all think, and we all have our opinions, but we want to be careful that we are not removing core values and core foundational doctrines to healthy culture and society. And again, for me, the very first one is the value of life. If we can't value that, if we can't go back to the importance of every life should be celebrated, no life is unwanted. It might not have been planned and unwanted are not synonymous. And so, anyway, just encouraging those that, maybe new to the space, or trying to decide how they even feel about this matter. We invite you to continue to tune in. And I thank you both so much, Sarah and Tess, for leading the way of the BFR Life podcast. And we're excited about the relevant content that we're going to be able to bring to our community and those that are listening from wherever they may be. So thanks for having me.
Those are some pretty significant takeaways to take away for us individually and for those of you that are listening too. That's gonna sit with me for a while, thinking about just what's in my hand, what's right in front of me, not just with our work at BFR, but just in general in the spaces that God's called us to. Yeah. So there's a reason why I've heard people often refer to BFR as the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah,
I can't tell you, and this is prior to being on staff with BFR. I've heard so many people say that. About any thoughts on that? I know we're closing out here, but that just came to me. I mean, how does that sit with you, that's how people in our community have often described our space?
Well, it's an incredible privilege and a weighty thing, that's for sure, when, we're attributed such a beautiful, description. And we think about being Christ's followers, Christ-like. I mean, what more do we want in this life but to be the hands and feet of Jesus? I mean, because his work is eternal and it lasts forever, and it makes an impact that we can never have in and of ourselves. So it's a beautiful privilege. It's not one that we take for granted or that we take lightly. So we're honored to be able to be seen in that way. And I'll just sort of close with this. Yesterday, Rachel and I, Rachel, that's our operations director, and my right hand in many ways, we were talking about, the most important thing. And I said to Rachel, I feel like the most important thing, when people say, oh, what's the most important thing you do at BFR? Saving lives is so incredible. And yes, it is. There is nothing more glorious and joyful. I said, Rach, really for me, I thought the most important thing we can do at BFR is continue to be faithful stewards of the presence and the power of God in the space that he's given us, literally in our building. Certainly that starts in our hearts individually as staff members and volunteers. So all those things go hand in hand. We can't be the hands and feet of Jesus if we're not practicing his presence, as Brother Lawrence has taught us, certainly Scripture has taught us, but to practice his presence and ask him continually, God, what do you want us to be about today? What thoughts do you want us to have? What solutions do you want us to help this client find or see? There's just that constant opportunity for him to show up in amazing ways. And really, I think that's our greatest privilege, ladies, is to be able to steward that well as a team and as individuals, and see his impact throughout the lives that we're privileged to serve.
Yeah, and you do such a beautiful job of leading our team in that. And
Absolutely.
Our community may not know that we start our mornings off at the center in prayer, in the Word, together as a team. And that has just been so impactful, I think, in how we carry that out of what you just said. And, we pray.
It's got to be priority.
Every morning of like, Lord, give us the words to say, give us the actions to take, whatever, that is. But, and so thank you, Kim, for leading us in that so well and prioritizing that for us.
It's a privilege.
Amazing
ladies.
Thank you, Kim.
Right back at you.
Well, thanks for joining us this week on the Live Podcast. We encourage you to subscribe to our podcast, to share the podcast, send it to your family, to your friends, talking about those circles of influences. You can share this out. We will be every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and coming soon on YouTube as well. So we're excited to continue and to grow this platform. You can also find more resources about BFR on our website, bartowfamilies.com. It'll be linked below as well. And join us on socials too. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us. Give us a shout out. If you have any questions that you would like for us to talk about and answer, or try to answer, feel free to email us. All those links will be down below this and in the description. And we're just excited about this journey.